My friend, are you a smoker? And what do you think about smoking? My friend, do you know which company is the most profitable company in the world? Thanks to high oil prices last year, the correct answer now is Saudi Aramco. What about the second place? Is it Apple, Google, or Walmart? Or what about Wall Street banks? The correct answer is none of them. The world's most profitable company after Aramco is an invisible Chinese company, and its name is China National Tobacco Corporation. China National Tobacco Corporation is the world's largest taxpayer. Last year, in addition to retaining more than $20 billion in profits, they also paid $198 billion in taxes, which is more than the sum of the second to 10th companies in China. It pays nearly as much in taxes as Saudi Aramco's profits plus taxes combined. This huge number is equivalent to China's military expenditure for a whole year, and this company alone has supported a powerful Chinese army. The State Council of China, the central government of China, is the sole shareholder of this company. Therefore, all taxes paid by this company are equivalent to handing over profits to the parent company. There are more than 340 million smokers in China. Although the vast majority of Chinese females do not smoke, more than half of Chinese adult men are smokers. With the support of a huge base of smokers, China has the largest cigarette market in the world. Last year, the Chinese consumed more than 2.7 trillion single cigarettes, more than one-third of the world's cigarette consumption. Each Chinese smoker spends an average of $3 a day on 21 cigarettes. As in some parts of the world, Chinese men once regarded smoking as a social etiquette or as a symbol of manhood. In the past, if a Chinese man was engaged in any of the following industries, as a non-smoker, he would appear out of place. For example, to be a gangster, a civil engineer, or a policeman, or even a government official, you have to smoke a lot in the workplace. Because if you don't smoke, people are likely to feel that your image doesn't match your professional identity. Fortunately, this discrimination against non-smokers has now disappeared in China. The smoking culture in modern China originated in the 1930s, when cigarettes were still a luxury, and smoking was a symbol of upper-class life. In the 1940s, during the Second World War, the smoking culture developed to different classes across the country, and smoking was no longer the exclusive enjoyment of the rich. But the smoking culture swept across China. It is the beginning of the Mao era. In the 1950s, people did not realize the great harm smoking caused to the body. At that time, smoking was a worldwide fashion, and China was no exception. Most of the Chinese leaders at that time were smokers, especially Mao Zedong. According to the description of a reporter close to Mao, Mao had a history of smoking for at least 60 years. Perhaps no political leader in any country smoked as many cigarettes as Mao. Mao was a cigarette fanatic, and even though he could enjoy the best cigarettes in all of China, he was still very dissatisfied with Chinese-made cigarettes. In 1950, Mao complained to the then Minister of Food Industry. He said that the quality of cigarettes made in China is always inferior to those made by foreigners, and it is necessary to use good cigarettes to entertain foreign guests. But there are no Chinese characters on both sides of the cigarettes, and they are all in foreign languages. Some good quality cigarettes must be produced, and all the packages are in Chinese characters. After several months of research and development, the Minister of Food Industry brought Mao a sample of the new production. Because this batch of sample cigarettes is of superior quality, Mao was very happy. He wrote down instructions that All party and government personnel should not smoke foreign cigarettes, and it is best not to smoke privately produced cigarettes. This passage became the beginning of China's state-owned tobacco monopoly. After decades of development and reform, all cigarette production and sales in China are now monopolized by a super enterprise, China National Tobacco Corporation. It has another identity, State Tobacco Monopoly Administration, which is part of the Chinese government. In other words, this company or institution not only dominates all the rules of the Chinese cigarette market, but is also the only player in this market. They are free to determine their own profits in the market. Yes, last year they decided to get $198 billion profits, and then they did it. Achieving this goal is as easy as smoking a cigarette. China Tobacco has dozens of major subsidiaries. In every province in China, there is one of their subsidiaries. Each subsidiary has its own cigarette factory and has its own unique cigarette brand. Zhonghua, Double Happiness, Furong King, Zhongnan Hai. Have you heard of these brands of cigarettes? Most of the cigarettes produced in China are flue-cured tobacco and are added with unique Chinese flavor spices, which are very different from cigarettes produced in foreign countries. Have you ever smoked Chinese cigarettes? Come on, tell me your feeling. If you are a foreign smoker living in China, it can be very painful, because it is very difficult to buy foreign cigarettes legally in China. In China, under the complicated tax law system, the actual tax rate of cigarette products is about 65.6%, which is slightly higher than the world average of 60.1%. But unlike other countries, the Chinese government is both the tax collector and the sole owner of the cigarette companies. Therefore, in China, all cigarette taxes and all profits of tobacco companies belong to the Chinese government. The Chinese government, through tobacco companies, collects extra taxes on 340 million Chinese smokers. We all know that smoking is harmful to our health. In China, smoking not only pays the price of health, but also pays high taxes and contributes to the country. The huge income can even support China's huge military expenditure. Even some fanatical military enthusiasts say that every cigarette they smoke would become a bullet fired at the enemy. Although China has also carried out propaganda that smoking is harmful to health for many years, and has completely banned cigarette advertisements. But the cigarettes in the hands of 340 million smokers are the best advertisements for cigarette brands. Photos of high-ranking officials and wealthy businessmen holding luxury cigarettes are the lifestyle that ordinary people dream of. Although the proportion of young people smoking is decreasing, I think the Chinese smoking culture will continue to be passed on. Perhaps China may never be able to quit smoking. Most importantly, China National Tobacco Corporation earned nearly $200 billion to the Chinese government every year, accounting for 6% of China's fiscal revenue. If the huge economic benefits produced by this company are lost, the Chinese government will immediately fall into financial crisis. Maybe government buildings have to be shut down to save electricity and wages. Maybe great projects overseas have to be stopped. Maybe pensions for retirees have to be stopped. Whatever it was, such a high price was unbearable. For the Chinese government, quitting their dependence on cigarettes may be even more difficult than a man quitting smoking.